the programs to date have not been well designed for small companies, many of whom have been caught in the direct crossfire of them.
They brought the wrong guy on to CBC. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. Today on CBC, we've got a business leader they bring on to talk about the tariff situation, and boy, does he bring some truth bombs. We got some other stuff here. Let's jump into this. Starting this episode off from the Hub, we've got Canada could lose 90,000 jobs. Now, this article came out before the tariffs in place, but that's what we're looking at here. Another one said 102,000 jobs. That's what Canadians are looking at, between 90 and 102,000 jobs with these 50% tariffs. While we're talking about these tariffs, what exactly are they affecting? We've got the breakdown here on Global News.
While they were watching the potential of a trade deal with cautious optimism, it was an unsatisfying outcome for many Canadian businesses.
A no-deal scenario was not what anybody wanted to see here, but here is where we are.
At 12:01 a.m. Eastern Saturday, the 50% tariffs came into effect for industries like dairy, electrical machinery, and plastic products, and it ranges a lot further than that. Exporters of all kinds, such as alcohol, honey, hockey sticks, and vacuums, were also affected.
It is a serious hit. It's around $20 billion worth of exports to the U.S., around 5% of all of our exports.
Unifor, which represents hundreds of thousands of workers from Canada's auto, energy, and forestry sector, commends the Prime Minister's move to walk away from trade talks.
We didn't have a choice here. We had absolutely no choice as a country. It was either roll over or draw a line in the sand. We chose to draw a line in the sand.
The Canadian manufacturers and exporters say the failed deal will compound challenges manufacturers are already facing and make Canadian companies less competitive. Some alcohol exporters previously hit by tariffs have already pivoted. Brighan Distillery outside of Edmonton started selling their products to Asian markets in the wake of repeated tariff threats. They were.
Not every company can do this. It's good that some of these can pivot and sell products to Asia or to Europe, but a lot of companies can't do this. The steel companies are not going to be shipping these huge rolls of steel over to Europe. It costs too much. That's why 99% of the steel made in Canada gets sold within North America, because the transport is so expensive. Steel is not even transported across Canada. Out here in British Columbia, the steel that is bought here often comes from America, which is close by.
For their industry partners.
Even the big distilleries, the Crown Royals and those kind of companies are going to have a problem absorbing this or dealing with it. The small distilleries, we're going to have a lot of problems dealing with it.
The Canadian Chamber of Commerce believes our economy is resilient enough that business can navigate the storm. It's the uncertainty that is the hardest part.
In 2025, there were over 52 different changes to the American tariff and tax code. That's more than one a week. And so any small business owner can't keep track of that.
Major industries and small businesses alike are looking for relief, though some don't believe a solution will be that simple.
I don't see the two parties going back to the negotiating table anytime soon. So
yeah, they're not going to be negotiating anytime soon. This is falling perfectly within to plan for Mark Carney and the Liberals. They saw the polling numbers after Trump's 50% tariffs, and they're running buck wild with it. So we'll get into that in a second. But first, let's just address this. As Marty's pointing out here, according to Carney and the Liberals, Canada is facing the biggest existential threat in 100 years. We're in an all-out trade war. So why are we not going back to Parliament here? Look at this. September 21st. It's another full month before they're back in Parliament. Carney took a vacation to Italy during this existential threat, not even going back to work for another month. Please, this is pathetic. You got Table Salt posting this one, which is coming from RBC, showing the average U.S. effective tariff rate by country. You see China's the highest here with 20, about 21. Japan at 10, India, Korea, Euro area, world total, etc. Here's Canada, but you can see this gray box. That's the Section 338 tariffs, putting us around 6% average with the rest of the world. Moving ahead here, we got David Cochrane interviews this business leader here. This interview goes sideways. This is hilarious.
As companies, 40% of my membership that exports to the United States today, they're on the list, the 18-page list of new items that will be subject to a tariff. I'm encouraged that the federal government is talking about the impact of small businesses. Certainly that was one of the focuses as they went through the negotiations. And I'm encouraged that the Prime Minister has also talked about easy-to-use, simplified programs.
So you can see here, this is Dan Kelly, Canadian Federation of Independent Business, and he's talking about these programs that are supposed to help small business. But you're going to find out here pretty quick, he doesn't think they're very good.
But David, I got to tell you, the programs, the federal government, the $25 billion that they've already dedicated to programs, they are garbage. Those programs have not worked. the regional development authorities, agencies across Canada are largely useless. In fact, almost all of them, by policy, said that no small and medium-sized companies would be eligible to apply for these earlier rounds of tariff relief measures, if you can believe it. So if you didn't have 2 million in sales or 10 employees, you're out. You don't get to apply.
Wow, this guy is just calling it straight out. These supports for businesses, they do not help the little guy or even the middle-sized business.
Hopefully that will change in this next round, but our experience with RDAs has not been a good one.
Well, I have no idea if they're garbage or not. That's yours.
I don't know. Are they garbage? We don't know.
Assessment there, but the original round of tariffs, the sectoral stuff, they were aimed at big players. They were aimed at the big industrial auto sector, steel, aluminum. So naturally, that's where that aid would go, would it not? I appreciate that your members might have been caught in the wake of it all, right? The knock-on effects, like Windsor's, cafes and stuff, because of the drop in shifts in the auto sector. But it sounds like, Dan Kelly, what's coming next is aimed right at this crowd of businesses. Is that not your understanding?
I'm sure hoping so. And look, we worked with the federal government during the pandemic to make sure that the tariff relief programs were finely tuned. The first launch was also quite bad, but they got there over time, and hopefully that will happen in this dispute. I got to say though that I worry about this. This is 50% tariff starting now. And we had a third of our members that export to the U.S. that would be affected by these tariffs tell us their sales will drop. Their expectation is by 50%. In some cases, I've had members say that their business essentially is done if there's a 50% tariff applied. So, unless Ottawa's got something really, really good lined up right away, the short-term effects are going to be significant.
Dude, this guy's just laying out straight. This blunt honesty here is so refreshing on the CBC. While obviously this is a terrible subject here, it is nice to see some honesty here. As he said, a lot of these companies, they're going to take 50% reduction in sales. They won't be able to survive. These companies are going to move to America. I bet so many of them are looking around like, okay, which state do I move to? It's time to get out of here. That's what's happening right now. Watch the exodus happen.
But I do want to highlight that the programs to date have not been well designed for small companies, many of whom have been caught in the direct crossfire of them. And I worry that this next round, typically Ottawa just said,
well, he's out of there. I think he just lost connection, but some brutal honesty. The government's programs helping small businesses are garbage. What exactly is going to happen here? Let's look at Donald Trump's polling numbers. This is going to tell us a lot. So we've got a combination of lines here. You can see where the cursor is. That's Joe Biden. And this is just comparing right along their terms. We've got Trump's first and second term. So this first term is where the cursor is now, where he was -10, Biden was -16, and Trump right now, his second term, -25. And as this goes along, Biden and Trump were kind of similar. Biden ends up going up a little bit higher, but Trump is taking a serious nosedive here. The Americans do not like what he's doing. This is evident with this. You can see Trump's approval and disapproval. This line is the disapproval on the top. His inauguration's here. He starts with a 52% approval and 43% disapproval. And immediately he starts with the Greenland and the 51st state, all that kind of stuff, and immediately drops to disapproval. Like, this was quick. It just flipped 53 disapproval, 44 approval. And what have we got now? It just keeps going and going and going. 37% approval, 59% disapproval. So Trump is going to be losing some power in the midterms, most likely. And this takes away power from the liberals, the fear mongering, because that's all liberals do. They scare Canadians into voting. They don't inspire hope. They don't inspire people to live a better life or to build a better country. It's all about fear and scaring the living daylights out of voters, especially older voters 60 plus. That's all they do, because they know the 60 plus voter votes a lot more than the other age groups of voters. So they're just going to keep scaring the older folk who have been watching CBC for years and get those votes. So what does that lead us to? Well, Trump's midterms here. United States midterm election. If we scroll down, we can see all the different presidents at the time, and here's Donald Trump. The midterms will be November 3rd, 2026. So what does that mean? I give a 50-50 chance, maybe a little bit more than that, maybe like 65% chance that the Liberals go to an election beforehand. And they need to have the election end before these midterms. If Donald Trump loses power in the midterm, which will likely happen because he hasn't wrapped up the Iran war, all this stuff with Canada, massive disapproval, Carney will lose power. He needs to have his election election wrap up beforehand. The shortest election he can run is 36 days, the same thing as his previous election, which puts him at calling an election the end of September. The election then completes beginning of November, the very end of October. He can try to get a 4-year mandate, a majority mandate, with the fear-mongering of Donald Trump and this whole deal falling apart. Gets a nice fresh 4-year run out all the way till 2030. And then that puts him one term more to 2034, where his Brookfield Global Transition Fund here, this fund he set up at Brookfield, will complete, where he's set to make upwards of 274 million, upwards of $1.22 billion. This 3% carried interest or the profits of the fund, which is why he said that Churchill project is so important. He's pumping the whole net zero electricity. He needs to electrify Canada as much as possible to increase the value of everything net zero, which is why he's doing the pipeline with low carbon oil, LNG. All of this stuff ties in: nuclear, Westinghouse, Infinium green jet fuel. The only thing to look at is it a 10-year fund or is it a 12-year? Is it an extension on this fund? Now, Carney doesn't get to control this. This is going to be done by Bruce Flatt and Connor Teskey, whatever, at Brookfield. But Carney set up the fund that it'll complete between 10 and 12 years, as we see in the details I've got down here. So initial closing July 2021, final closing June 2022, 10-year term goes to 2032, the 12-year term goes to 2034. Carney gets a majority government this year. That puts him to only 2 years to the end of his fund. So he might be fine with that, to the point where he's like, yeah, he can pump it for the next 4 years. And at that point, this fund is going to be all gravy anyways. But I'm sure he'll try to get another 4-year term, which will then put him to the end of his 2034 term, which also lines up with his $6.8 million in stock options. So right on the SEC website here in the United States Securities and Exchange, Mark Carney, you can see right here. So here's his stock, $6.8 million on the right of the screen. Here's 209,000 at a strike price of $35 and 200,000 shares at a strike price of $40. More importantly, look at the dates right here: February 15th, 2033 and February 15th, 2034. He's timed this to all line up at the exact same time. So if he can get 2 4-year majority mandates, he is going to absolutely make a killing on this. And even if he gets one more majority mandate, he can get the lion's share of what he's looking for. This is all about pumping the value of his stocks, not only in Brookfield, his Brookfield Global Transition Fund, and cashing out. And he doesn't care on the wake of damage he's going to be doing to Canada. Moving ahead, what have we got? Another South Asian here going nearly 300 kilometers per hour on the highway in Surrey. So we can't play that music, but you can see this thing gets up to 297 kilometers per hour. Like, this is unreal. Like, I can't even believe this. Like, this is so outrageously fast. If anyone gets in the way here, it's just going to cause catastrophic damage. He's still going up 289, 292, 297. And he's got a plate flipper. Gil. Now that's real smart. Can we put this guy in prison already or deport him? Take his license away for 2 years and send their cars to the dump to be destroyed. I think with this kind of speed, this is not 2 years kind of thing. This is like a 15 years kind of thing. There should be massive fines. There should be like a $50,000 fine. There should be jail time and not having a license for the next 15 to 20 years. Like, we don't need this on our streets. Going through my backlog here, there's some stuff I haven't got to. This one's from back in August 1st. But I mean, look at this. This is in Toronto. What is this? Please. You know, it's one thing if they're doing these parades, whatever, but like when you get the ceremonial stuff going in the waters, throwing garbage in there and all these things, just breaking down plastic bits and garbage all over the water, like that's where we got to draw the line. I mean, I don't know what's going on here, but maybe we draw the line on this too. It's just, this is getting absurd.